Welcome to Podpinions, where the world's on fire and we show up like it's a backyard barbecue. Politicians roasted, woke trends torched. Common sense, we've got you covered.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Podpinions.
I'm Rich.
And I'm Bruce.
And here we are, another fun-tabulous week.
Fun-tabulous.
Yeah, that's right. On Podpinions.
Yes, that's right, Podpinions.
And boy, do we have some.
Yeah,
right?
Always. I don't know what it is.
I always have a Podpinion.
Yeah.
I get yelled at for having Podpinions.
Yeah, well, you know, that's what it's all about. You know?
Oh, boy. What a week, huh?
Yep.
So here I'm driving on Route 80, and my battery light goes on. It's like, this is not good. So I did what I had to do, and I'm coming back on Route 80. I get off. I'm going to stop and get a new battery. And all the lights on the dashboard went on, and it just died. So I called towing, and they said, I got some guy in Pakistan at some call center. Here's an American insurance company I have towing with, and I get a call center in Pakistan. Which kind of pissed me off a little bit because he's obviously putting Americans out of work. Anyhow, because I did ask him where he was located, and he said Pakistan. So I said, well, how long will it be before a tow truck shows up? I don't know. You'll get a text message. So I hang up. I get a text message. Up to 2 hours. Actually, it was actually between 110 and 120 minutes. 2 hours. So I said, screw this. So I called around, and there's a tow truck company, like, right there. So I called them, and the woman said to me, where are you? And I told her. I said, how long would it take for a truck to get here? Ready for this? 10 minutes. So needless to say, I canceled the insurance company tow truck.
Right.
And turns out I needed an alternator and a battery, and I got hosed. But it is what it is.
It is what it is. It's all them Chinese plastic parts, you know, the battery housing and everything. Back to plastics.
Well, it's a Japanese truck. I mean, it's, you know.
Right.
So it's all the plastic. Oh, speaking of plastic, you and I were talking about this yesterday.
Yeah.
So I see this doctor again on the news. And the same one was talking about microplastics in your food and whatnot. So this guy said that the best thing to do is to, well, in the report prior to this one, he was talking about how we should look for glass bottles, glass containers, right? So he reads this French study about glass bottles, water bottles that you can buy in the store. It's got a screw cap. Screw cap is made out of plastic. So the study said that there's like all these, I forget what the number was, but like a zillion parts per million of microplastics in the glass bottle of water. So
and then we got talking about it, and, you know, we started thinking about, you know, we had the metal caps with the seal on it.
But then it's aluminum, which is bad for you too.
Right. But then we were...
Oh, it's got the little... You said it's got the little plastic disc inside the cap.
Yeah. And it's kind of like a rubber-ish.
But that can't be good for you either.
Probably not. No.
Especially if it gets heated up.
Yeah. And then we got talking into the filling end of it, and, you know, hoses and all this stuff. Are they plastic?
Yeah, with the filling machine that fills the bottle.
So we're doing the right thing by getting a glass bottle, but
it's being filled by plastic.
So you can't win.
It's unbelievable. It just doesn't stop.
No.
So, I mean, how'd they do it way back when we were kids? I mean, did they have metal tubing on these filling machines, or was it plastic and we just didn't
probably
know
wasn't
about it?
Quite as automated with the tubing and the suction and everything. It's probably some kind of funnel.
The gravity fed thing.
You know, shut off.
Like a gravity fed.
Yeah.
We're going to have to look into this. If anybody knows how they used to fill the glass milk bottles and water bottles back
before
before all this plastic stuff.
Yeah.
like 50s and 60s. That
Might
that's
even
the
been before that. I don't know when
40s.
they started with that. We'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there was some, I'm sure stainless steel, some kind of nipple or something that they used, but to get the product, I'm sure it had to been some kind of vat or something that they filled and some kind of shut-off valve,
Right.
And, yeah, I'm not sure.
Interesting. So, if anybody knows, in the comments below.
Yep. Need your help?
And you guys haven't been commenting much.
Yeah. What's your Podpinions?
That's right. We want to know. And don't spam us with, oh, gee, I saw your podcast, and it's really wonderful. And if you spend $1 zillion with us, we can get you to #1. Well, guess what? No.
Yes, isn't that funny how they just come out of the woodwork?
It's unbelievable.
It's like as soon as you have a business, I checked your website and I can do.
Oh, I
so
get
much
those all
better.
day.
It's like 10 an hour.
All day.
Yeah,
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I hate them. And there's no way to stop it.
because there's always one in the background.
That's right.
Yep.
How does that work?
Yep. But yeah, so I'm sure the more broader this gets, I'm sure we'll get hit all the time with that too.
Yeah, well,
So.
hey, if we're getting like 1 million views, I don't care if somebody spams us. I don't.
Right.
So
That's
we're
true.
up to like $1.09 or something now.
Something like that. You could almost get a Coke.
Almost. Yeah. Well, it's got
Split a Coke.
2 something. Unbelievable. So one of the biggies this week was Trump's big beautiful bill. It made it through the Senate, but now it's stalled again. It had to go from the House, got passed, no big deal. Then it goes over to the Senate. Chuck Schumer was an absolute jerk and had the clerks read the entire thing,
Right.
which they should have done when, with the Obamacare nonsense,
Which they all should have done before they voted.
is read the thing. But there was nobody. They were there all night reading
Right.
this for like 2 days,
Right.
right? And there was nobody in the Senate
Right.
chamber
Right.
other than the clerks reading it,
just-
and maybe like 1 or 2 senators.
For themselves to hear themselves talk. That
That's
was it.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
So with that just annoys me. I mean, because it was a stall tactic, obviously.
Right.
And but it got through with some stupid amendments. So now it goes back to the House for another vote. Now it's stalled there because the guys in the House, the reps in the House, don't like what the Senate did with these changes.
With the amendments.
Correct.
So now they're going to have to. Now, does it go back to the Senate?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Okay.
I mean, this
That's
could be a ping
interesting.
pong game.
Yeah. Never know. I guess it depends on what it is, right?
So it's stalled, and Trump said he wanted to sign this thing by 4th of July, which is day after tomorrow.
Right.
But he doesn't mind if it gets postponed a few days.
Okay.
I'm thinking more like a few weeks.
But when are they going to recess for the holiday?
I don't know. Maybe they won't,
Yeah, that'd be
because
interesting.
Mike Johnson could actually say to the
Oh,
Speaker
yeah,
of the
that's true.
House.
That's true.
He could
Yeah.
actually say, you guys aren't leaving yet
Yeah.
until we get this done. So according to
Trump
what I-
could always stop the buses. Too.
That's right. Stop the buses. Trump, yeah. Well, I don't know.
Nancy
The guy
Pelosi.
doesn't stop working.
Yeah, I know.
He's starting to look tired.
Yeah.
But Mike Johnson said earlier today that it's very possible that they could come to a conclusion tonight and get this thing done. I'll believe it when I see it.
Right. We'll have to see what they come up with, because that's the dangerous part. All these shove-ins and amendments and
Well, one of the things I read today, and I was just showing you, was this thing with the Senate parliamentarian. Somehow, this woman was appointed by Harry Reid like over 10 years ago. I guess the Senate Majority Leader picks the parliamentarian.
okay.
So they're in charge of the rules. So this woman started saying, no, you can't have this, you can't have that, you can't do this, you can't do that. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. This woman is not an elected official. She's just a rules person, and she's making changes in the bill before
Right.
they vote on it.
Right.
Like, what's that all about?
So
And is that legal?
shouldn't it kind of go to her first before it's even.
Well, no, if all right, so they follow Robert's Rules of Order or something similar to that. So her job is the rule keeper as to how they go about doing things, not to cherry pick things out of the bill.
But isn't that what she was doing?
Yes, she was taking stuff out of the bill.
Saying. Right.
But I don't think she's allowed to do that.
Yeah, I don't know.
So it's just curious, and
but there's no laws or rules anymore. So what the heck?
Really? I don't know about that. I saw a bunch of people getting pulled over on the highway today for speeding.
Oh no!
Holiday weekend.
Yeah, holiday weekend. That's it. There was no masks.
Noah, that was an arc back in the day.
No mask and 40 people standing around with the cell phone.
That I didn't see. But
you need a warrant.
What do they call themselves? Those people that do that? There's a name for them.
Idiots.
No, they're not citizens. There's a word for it, where they don't, like, our Constitution and laws don't apply to them.
Oh.
Do you know?
Yeah.
What are they called?
It's almost like they're coming from a different country.
Right. And then they'll just hold up like this rule thing in the window when the cop says roll your window down and give me your papers, and they just
Yeah.
We were watching one. My wife and I were
like
watching
from the
one.
embassy or something.
Yeah, right. My wife and I were watching one the other day. This woman was giving a cop a hard time, and he just tased her. I mean, from like point blank range, like, oh yeah, and she was writhing all over the street. And then he just zapped her a couple more times just for good luck, And then they handcuffed her, and she was screaming and yelling how she was being hurt.
Right.
Well, it's like, don't be an idiot.
Yeah, I mean, and most of these things, obviously, if the cop's going to make an arrest, and I can't speak for all the cops, but I'm just assuming here, my Podpinion, if there's something minor, it's a hit or miss whether you want to fill out the paperwork and go through all the stuff, right?
Just give them a warning and be done with it.
And then these people just
can't
stop themselves.
They take it over the top, and that's it. Goodbye, taser.
And then all of a sudden, they're in the back of the car, handcuffs, tase marks, and going to the hospital, get checked out for the taser and charges and resisting arrest and all this other stuff.
Assaulting a police officer.
Right. When it was like, just the backlight was blinking, on and off intermittently.
But the man.
Yeah, it's their problem.
It's beyond me.
Yeah. Whatever happened to, put your hands on the steering wheel. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. And give them what they need. If you were doing, over the speed limit, all right. But at least be respectful. They don't even teach that anymore. It's always how to get away with it. How to get away with it. How to get away with it.
I remember in driver ed class in high school. Now we're talking the 1970s. Oop, I just dated myself. But I remember being specifically taught, if you get pulled over, put your two hands on the steering wheel, and if it's at nighttime, put the dome light on so they can see you, and don't do anything until the cop tells you what to do.
And let him know or her know what you're going to do. All right, I'm going to get my stuff out of my glove box.
Right.
Or I'm going to reach up here and grab my paperwork. It's not that hard.
Well, neither is making change at a Dunkin' Donuts, but that happened again today.
And he keeps going back.
Yeah, this was a different one.
He's going to go back until somebody can make change.
This was a different place. It was a different location, and it was like they transferred more on A to point B. You know what I mean? It was just this woman, not even a woman, it was a kid. I guess a high school kid working for the summer. Hey, great, you're working, but don't just hand me like a pile of cash like this and change through the window. And the change is going on the ground. It's like, really?
Yeah.
It's like, why do you do that? Can't you just count it back to me?
Right.
nicely.
Well, it's easier if you just hand them a card and they don't have to deal with anything, and they slip
Or people,
it
I
in
see
and slip
people
it
like
out.
holding their phone up and
Yeah.
they scan their phone now.
Yep.
No, it's too creepy.
Yep.
I'm old school.
Yep.
I want that personal contact.
I was just watching another. I don't know. It was a couple days ago. I don't remember which one it was. I was watching a podcast and they were talking about China, and you brought up the phone. And if somebody's jaywalking in China, they have these apps, social credit score app or whatever
Okay.
it is, but they have cameras all over the place.
Right.
And then they have facial recognition software. So if somebody jaywalks, for instance, they get a notification on their phone as they're jaywalking that they're breaking the law. They're identified that they're breaking the law. And as they're probably not even to the other side of the
They have
street,
a ticket in their phone?
not a ticket, money's being taken out of the bank account
Are you serious?
to pay for the fine.
Now
for
that's
jaywalking.
creepy.
Isn't it?
Wow.
Yep. So that's where all this is going. This technology is where all this is going.
Wow.
You're
I
not
mean,
gonna
I
be
got
able
to
to say boo.
I went on a golf trip with a bunch of guys, friends of mine from high school. We get together a couple times a year and do stuff. And so we went to Myrtle Beach. This is like 2 or 3 years ago. So we took my truck with all the golf clubs. 3 of us drove, and the rest of them flew down. So we had all the golf clubs in my truck. So my one buddy, he said, I will just use my Easy Pass, right? I got like $500 worth of tickets
Right,
because
because
he forgot to put my license plate on his Easy Pass thing.
Right.
And all in the mail, and there was pictures of my truck with the license plate,
Yep.
I mean, he straightened it out, but still,
Right,
it was
right.
like,
Yeah.
what a nightmare.
But apparently over there, they don't even wait for
They just take
to
the
get
money
the
out?
ticket.
Wow.
This is just like automatically, they have
Boom.
video of you doing it, where you're at, your location, GPS location, and it's
That's
been
kinda
determined
creepy.
that you're guilty, and this is the fine you pay. And then it depends on how many times you do that, then your credit score goes up or down, depending on.
Wow. Can you
Yeah.
imagine that happening here? People would go nuts.
Yeah, well, I don't know whether some people go nuts. I just seen what happened in New York with that mayor vote, so some of them would be
Well, those people they're moving out in droves now.
right. Well, not all of them. Just the zombies are staying now.
That's okay. Let them stay there.
So, but those type of people, they don't even think about it. I don't understand why, but to me, that's a really red flag. What's going on over there.
I wonder how they're doing it, though.
Well, I'm sure it's all generated with AI, and they have.
Yeah, but how are they getting into your bank account?
Because you have to have, it's a government-owned bank, so you have to agree to the
Oh, to the terms?
terms and all that stuff. So if you're going to have money in there, and then I don't know whether they're allotted so much money. Maybe it's a person that gets government subsidies or something. I don't know,
Wow.
but
Coming to a town near you.
yeah. So you see all those little light cameras on the stoplights and the.
Yeah, I've noticed that even around here. Like,
Yeah.
all of a sudden, hey, there's cameras everywhere.
Then all of a sudden you're driving down the road after like 3 days, and there's a frickin' 75-foot phone tower that just appeared out of nowhere.
But I don't know if you just hit. No, you came a different way tonight, right? You didn't come through Mount Pocono,
No.
right? Well, there's this one spot in the Poconos, Mount Pocono. It's called what's it? Five points. So there's 5 roads come into the center of Mount Pocono. There, you get within like 50 yards from any which way into this intersection, and I don't care what cell service you have, it just dies until you get like halfway down the hill, and then all of a sudden you have a signal again. But there's a tower like right there.
Right.
So how does that work?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know.
I was years ago. If there's a ski resort up here called Camelback, and there's a state park on the back side of it, and you can go hunting there. So a buddy of mine and I went hunting, and there's cell towers on the whole top of that ridge up there because it's the highest point around here. So at the time I had Sprint. So I'm standing there under a Sprint tower, and there's a sign on the fence that says Sprint, and I have my phone up, 0 bars. It's like, how does that work? Why?
I don't know.
I'll have to dig that picture out because it's hysterical.
Maybe it just goes out and not down.
I don't
Signal.
know.
I don't know.
Don't know.
Good questions. I do not know.
So one of the other things that came up, they're doing these hearings about who was running the country for 4 years while Joey was at the beach or snoozing or whatever he was doing.
Maybe it was a parliamentarian.
Wouldn't that be funny?
Yeah.
Not. But there's this woman. Her name is, what was her name? Do I have it? Her name here? No. It was Lee something. It was a Chinese woman, a Chinese American who was working in the Biden administration somewhere in the West Wing, right? So she was saying that when she testified that Jill Biden was actually the brains behind everything, along with, what was it? Anthony Bernal. She saw him running the White House like he was in control of everything. And there was, who else? Bruce Reed, who was a deputy chief of staff. Steve Riccichetti. So and this is just like this one woman testifying. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen.
Right.
And there was one that they subpoenaed the guy, or they asked him to appear, and then I guess whoever was running this thing said you're not getting executive privilege.
Okay.
And he said, nope, not showing up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So what does he have to say? So now they're going to subpoena the guy. Anita Dunn and Mike Donnellan. So they were all the ones running this stuff.
But again, like you always bring up, Congress doesn't have the authority to prosecute. So once we find out this information,
then what?
Who's going to make the charges?
I don't know. So the way it works, if I've done my homework correctly, so they have a hearing, and then let's say it's in the Senate. That particular committee that's running the hearing will refer it to the Department of Justice.
Okay.
Saying we want you to prosecute this, or we recommend that this be prosecuted. Then it's up to the Department of Justice whether they're going to take it on as a case or not.
Okay.
So far, like with the Biden thing, that whole 4 years, stuff was being referred to the Department of Justice, but we all know
Right. It was going nowhere.
It was going to go absolutely nowhere unless your name was Trump.
Right. So the Department of Justice, they're the ones that would get the FBI involved.
Correct.
To do the investigations and all that. And then based on that, they would either bring it to a grand jury or...
Correct.
Okay.
So I'm expecting it to go absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, we'll see. And do they, and I don't know, so maybe you do know, once they make a decision whether they're going to recommend charges or not, or investigations other than their House investigation, do they publicize that, or is that all secret?
Some of them evidently not.
Okay. I didn't think so.
And then all of it, because something just happened recently where the Department of Justice, I guess the FBI was doing some kind of investigation behind the scenes, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, somebody got indicted.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I know they've been doing some investigations on the medical stuff, and then they just announced that they were charging 324 people with like $14.2 billion worth of Medicaid and
Good.
Medicare
Medicaid fraud. That's the way it should be. Oh, that was the other thing that's really making me nuts. I actually saw a commercial on a news channel, actually several news channels. I saw it on a conservative news station. I saw it on a liberal news station. It's a commercial saying how this big, beautiful bill thing that's going through is going to gut Medicaid and stop, and all these people are going to lose their health benefits. No, they are not.
Right.
It's the people who are defrauding Medicaid or Medicare and the people who are defrauding Social Security by having a phony Social Security card and claiming benefits, and illegal aliens who shouldn't be getting this stuff in the first place.
Right.
So that's what's going to go away. But you and me and Joe, Joe average American is not losing anything.
Right. So, and why is that allowed? Do you know?
Which?
Those ads. If they're,
I have no
blatant
idea.
lies.
Right. They're absolute blatant lies. And it's some, it's some, government action committee thing. Or political action committee.
Right. But what I'm saying is if you go on to a news station and tell complete lies, is there any repercussions on that?
No. I mean, look what happened with Trump. They blatantly lied about all the Russia stuff, and nothing happened.
Right. Yeah.
Even the newscasters lied about it.
Right. So there's no way for anybody to really know what's true or false, what they're advertising in the mainstream media is my point.
Right.
So it's probably best to just assume everything is snake oil show.
Well, no. What you should do, like in this case, they're saying that the big beautiful bill is doing X, Y, Z. Well, go on the congressional website and read the bill yourself.
That's what I'm saying. Don't allow somebody else to interpret it or tell you what's in there.
Go read it yourself.
Go read it yourself.
And granted, 950 pages is a lot to read.
You may not do it, but until you do, assume what you're hearing may not be all the facts or complete nonsense.
Yeah, I'm one of those, I don't believe anything I hear.
Right.
To me, everybody's an axe murderer until proven otherwise. Hey, it served me well over the years, especially being in showbiz.
Yeah, that's true.
Your best friend will stab you in the back for a gig. They'll smile at you, and then out comes the knife the minute you turn around, and they'll steal your gig. And it's actually happened to me many times.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's good advice. Good advice.
So just remember that one.
Yeah.
Everybody's an axe murderer until proven otherwise.
Good words to live by.
What else is happening?
So what's going on for the holiday? You do anything exciting?
I'm going to watch paint dry.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
All the two-plate Flatlanders are showing up. That's what we call people from out of state. Two-plate Flatlanders, because they have two license plates and they come from a flat place.
Yeah.
Usually New York City.
Yep. So no,
and I
I
was
don't
one
have
of them
anything
once.
real exciting going on. So
work.
Yeah, that's about it.
That's it.
Trying to get this going. So the more you like, the more you share, the more you follow, the less work we have.
That's right. Well, no, then we have more work because then we have to do more of these.
Right. Exactly.
And bore them even more. The Bryan Kohberger,
Oh, right. Yeah. You had just brought that up. I don't know whether it was the last podcast or the podcast before.
Right.
Wonder what was going on there. He was coming up on trial for that. Yep.
Well, he pled guilty today.
Yeah. And he was the suspect and then charged for the
Four murders.
Colorado?
No, Idaho.
Idaho. That's
but
correct.
He's from here.
Right.
And so they even had yesterday in Stroudsburg, in the courthouse, they had hearings whether the people that knew him here have to go to Idaho to testify.
Oh, no kidding.
So I don't know what the outcome of that was, but because he pled guilty today.
Right. Yeah, they did a plea deal or something, right? What was the final, do you know?
He pled guilty to the 4 murders, plus pled guilty to felony burglary.
Okay.
My dentures are loose. And because he did that, he gets 4 life sentences without parole.
So avoids the death penalty.
And the families are really upset about it. So no death penalty. So he skirted the death penalty. Me, if that was me, it's like, give me the death penalty. I don't want to live in prison the rest of my life.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and then you had brought up maybe sue him, but again,
he has no money.
What does he have?
Right.
So
Yeah, in a civil suit, they could probably sue and win.
Right.
But look at what happened with O.J. The family, the Goldman family, and what was her name? His wife that he killed.
Nicole.
Both families sued O.J. Simpson. They won in a civil court. Did they collect? Not a dime.
Right. But he did end up in prison for it.
No, he wound up in prison for stealing his own memorabilia back from some guy at gunpoint in a Las Vegas hotel room.
But again,
he did.
At least he did. It wasn't necessarily for that, but at least they got a little.
Still, he should have.
No, I hear you.
That whole thing just bugged me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's. Who was it? We weren't going to talk about it, but did he?
Oh.
Did he do it?
Wow, he skated.
Yeah.
I mean, he got away with the RICO conviction.
No, it just goes to show all it takes is money. That's all.
Right. But they got him on the transportation of women for prostitution.
Mm-hmm.
So those are 2 felonies, and it was a cross-state line, so it's a federal thing. And they're holding him without bail.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
I did too.
He has to stay.
Saying he was a flight risk.
Right.
And that he could use his money for drugs and women.
So no, what do you call them, freak offs or something?
Yeah, whatever he was doing. Piece of garbage. I mean, I just truly don't get it. You know, how...
Yeah.
Well, I don't understand the people that participated in that.
Right.
Why would they even do that?
Look at the way the world is now. I mean, it's just look at what people do to other people, and it's pretty apparent. You know what I mean? Nobody cares. You know, not nobody, but once you get into that atmosphere of the same birds of a feather,
I guess.
You know what I mean?
Well, like Jeffrey Epstein, that whole thing.
Yeah.
And that just kind of went away.
Yeah.
Unless they're investigating and nobody knows about what they're doing.
Right. So the people have money, know people with money, and they bring up people to make money. So nobody wants their cash cow to go away. They're used to their lifestyle. They're used to making money. So how much is it worth to you to have your soul stolen from you? That's basically what it is, in my view.
I just think I have too much integrity for that.
Yeah. But what I'm saying,
I just couldn't do it.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I'm the same way. I've gone from, back to nothing to keep going on. So that's what you got to do. But when you get to a certain level, for certain people, I guess it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. They just pretend it didn't happen. And
yeah, but one of the things they were talking about, because the reason they didn't give him bail, the judge said, I watched that video of him beating the daylights out of his girlfriend in the hallway in that hotel.
So where are all the psychologists and psychiatrists?
Nowhere. I haven't seen
they?
one. I have not seen one anywhere on television talking about this.
There's frickin' 400 million of them all over the place. You can even have an app with you frickin' talk to them on a frickin' app. Where are they in all these cases?
I don't know. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
You'd think that one of these news channels would have a bunch of shrinks on talking about all the psychological ramifications of this stuff. Yes, you would think.
And even
but no.
Even the outcomes of what people are going to think on the outcomes. I have an opinion on it. Podpinion. You have one. You have one. It may not be the same exactly, but we all have our opinion what actually happened. So where are they?
I don't know. I mean, I'm surprised he didn't get prosecuted for beating his girlfriend up that day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's right there in black and white on film or on video.
Yep.
I mean, beating the daylights
Yep.
out of her and dragging her by the hair back to the room.
Yep.
So why didn't he get prosecuted for that when it happened?
All it
Who
takes is
knows?
money.
Yeah, right.
Money.
I guess.
Money that is not backed by anything but somebody's word. That's
It
what
just
it is.
really bugs me. So yeah, so Bryan Kohberger, I think sentencing is next month, I believe. I could be wrong. It may be sooner than that, but yeah. So he's going to just get a life sentence, 4 life sentences without parole.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you go back in history, Charles Manson got life in prison without parole, and guess who came up for parole every year? Charles Manson.
Yeah. And it made the news every year. Yeah.
So, and there was another one recently where the person got life without parole and then came up for parole like a couple times. Didn't get out, but
Right.
there's a possibility there that the guy can still get out.
Mm-hmm.
And after what he did, I mean, that's disgusting.
Right. Yep. No. And again, it's like these plea deals.
I never understood that. Plea deals, and I've even talked to lawyer friends about it.
It's not for the families, the victims' families. It's not for those that are convicted, really. It's so that, in my podpinion, so that the prosecutors have another notch in their belt.
See, that's nonsense. Because I honestly feel that
It's a conviction.
No, I know it's a conviction. However, like in this guy's case, there's no way he'd get a not guilty plea.
Right. So why would you present?
Why would you even offer a plea deal?
Why? If you're not doing it for yourself, why would you do it? If you're
Right.
doing it for the families, and if you're
The families
think
want
that
the
this
guy to have the
is
electric
guilty,
chair.
if you think this guy is guilty, and you're doing it to convict this guy because he murdered somebody and give the family some kind of closure, why would you offer a plea deal?
I don't understand that at all.
I'm telling you, it's a conviction. It's another conviction, which then they can get a higher position in whatever government frickin' bullcrap tier that they're working on.
But they could do that too. In this case, I mean, it's blatantly obvious. They have DNA that says the guy did it.
I get it. It's just they're selling their soul for
It's disgusting.
the almighty dollar.
It's
That's what they're
disgusting.
doing. They're not doing it for anything other than themselves.
I think it's disgusting. But
Yep.
and then the
And
government.
then if you have, difference of opinion, you can leave it in the comments below.
Your podpinion.
Mm-hmm.
So then, I was reading this thing right before we started, and I don't think I mentioned this to you while we were setting up. The crew is setting up. The crew. Someday,
The P crew.
maybe someday we
Podcast crew.
will have a crew. But so as we all know, our government does these weird things, right? So, for example, we will go back in time to around World War II, and they were using a particular Swiss biochemist or biologist to weaponize insects for biological warfare. The guy's name was Willy Bergdorfer, and he discovered Lyme disease.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he spilled his guts 3 months before he died.
Was it Korea or Vietnam that they first used it?
I forget, but it's a whole. You got to write. If you haven't read it, there's a book called Bitten, Bitten, that this reporter wrote and interviewed him 3 months before he died, and he spilled his guts about the whole project. Right. So anyhow, they gave us, our government gave us Lyme disease, and then it's mutated into who knows how many different strains of Lyme and other tick-borne illnesses, and it's bad. So the hot one this year is a thing called alpha-gal syndrome, My wife actually had it, and she actually got over it. How? I don't know. What? What's so funny?
I think the woman in the home, just don't send me nasty comments, but I think the woman in the home is just automatically the alpha gal.
Bada boom. He's here all week, ladies and gentlemen. No, so what alpha gal syndrome is, it's from a Lone Star tick, which is mostly in the South, although we do have some here. And you get bitten by this tick, you get this disease called alpha gal, which is an allergy to red meat.
Maybe that's what's going on with all this men and women's sports.
Oh,
They're
could
the
be.
alpha gals,
There you go.
right?
That's not working, Bruce.
Okay.
He's cracking himself up. Long day, he's tired.
Yes, right.
So it's really serious because what would happen? Well, in my wife's case, she would eat like a steak or something, and then maybe half an hour later, she would break out. I mean,
I remember
everywhere.
you saying that.
Yeah, I mean, it was bad.
Right.
But it was like this rash that was unbelievable. Some people actually have anaphylactic reactions to it,
Really?
and they can die. And there's no treatment for it. It just either you have it or it goes away by itself. In my wife's case, thank God, it went away by itself. Now she's on a carnivore diet, which I find really funny. But
That's pretty cool. That's pretty amazing.
yeah,
That she couldn't
so
eat it
she's
before.
very lucky.
Yeah.
She's very, very lucky.
Yeah.
So anyhow, but this is all, the tick-borne illness thing.
Right.
So now our government, ready for this one? They are planning to airdrop sterile flies over Texas to fight flesh-eating maggots.
Remember the honeymooners?
I do.
Ralph and Norton. Norton was like, sterile. Remember that one? Sorry.
Anyhow, so the USDA is targeting flesh-eating screwworms, which are threatening livestock and horses and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And if I guess they screw into the carcass of the body of the animal, and it kills them. So now our government has stopped, and it's started in Mexico, and
Now, you had said, we had talked about this a little bit at the last one of these other podcasts. They had eradicated it for
correct. In
one time,
1966, it went away
Right.
completely. Now it's back, evidently. So now they shut the border down with any kind of livestock coming over the border from Mexico. But now they're going to breed all these flies from these larvae, right, from these maggots. They're going to radiate them, make them sterile, airdrop them over. We're talking like billions of these things over Texas, hoping that they will mate with the native ones, right? Mm-hmm. But then, since they're sterile, the eggs will not hatch.
Okay.
They're hoping, just like they were hoping
That this Lyme disease would take over another country and just
Right.
stay there, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So this is, and same thing with like the Chinese lantern flies.
Mm-hmm.
We knew a guy that was doing a lantern fly study for the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture, and they stopped it. They just stopped doing it. They were counting lantern flies. Now all of a sudden they're not.
Oh, they reached their count.
But they're still everywhere,
The
and they're like decimating
the abacus
forests.
didn't count anymore. They had to stop.
But they're decimating forests.
Right.
It's like sort of like the gypsy moth infestation
Oh, yeah.
a million years
Right.
ago, where they had it was bad.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
the
that was
lantern
really bad.
flies are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But this is really scary because who knows? I mean, it could completely wipe out our meat
Right. Right.
industry.
Yep.
And
Well-
then what?
Yep. Well, I mean, is it? Do you know if it's just primarily livestock, or is it like rabbits and dogs? And
according to this, it's just livestock, horses,
Okay.
that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Cows, steers,
Gotcha.
horses. But I'm thinking, why not a deer,
Right.
Why
right.
not an
right,
antelope?
right.
an elk?
Yep.
You know.
Yeah. Could be.
So I don't know, but it creeps me out a little bit because the government said, "Oh yeah, this is safe." Meanwhile, back at the ranch, it's mutating into who knows what.
At least it didn't come out of a wet market, I guess.
Yeah, in China.
That's a good
From a bat.
from a bat.
You know what blows me away? When that whole thing came out, right, the whole COVID thing. Oh yeah, it came from a wet market. Fauci, when he was saying it came from a wet market from a bat. Somebody ate an infected bat. First of all, who eats bats? Right? I didn't buy that one. Well, maybe in China they
Yeah,
do.
they do. Apparently they sell them.
But I was thinking to myself, wait a minute, this makes no sense. I don't buy this for a second.
Mm-hmm.
You know, thinking of like all the weird stuff that's happened in Chinese labs over the years,
Right.
or even our labs over the years.
That we funded, found out we funded.
Right, which Fauci has denied up and down, you know, and they proved it like 9 times that the guy...
And that's another thing. All this
funneling
funds,
the money.
Yeah, all this funds, and now we're talking about immigration and ICE and who's going to pick the berries, and you know prices are going to go up. If they didn't tax us all and send all our frickin' money all over the place,
Right, we'd
have enough money to buy more expensive clothes and furniture that was made here and made right. And it's not hard.
No, not at all. Well, like North Carolina, they had a huge furniture furniture
Yeah, they were the
industry,
capital of the world.
right?
Yeah,
What happened?
they all went overseas.
IKEA. Some assembly required.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all overseas, and now we're fighting on tariffs and all this other stuff, and people are getting all up in arms. Just frickin' stop tax. Figure out how much you actually need without sending everything to other
Overseas,
countries.
right.
Figure out how much you need, and I bet you your paycheck would go up probably 30% every week, at least.
I wouldn't doubt.
So instead of getting a raise and bitching about $15 or $30 an hour, this guy in New York now is talking about $30 an hour for minimum wage. Instead of doing that, why don't you find out what they're doing with our money and insist that they don't take it so we have enough to spend and live off of? Because once you do the $30, everything else is going up.
Oh, absolutely.
Just like now. We everybody's been telling everybody they make a minimum wage $15, $16 an hour, everything's going up. Well, what happened? Everything went up. And they don't go up just enough to make everything equal. Now the company has to spend money on technology and stuff that they didn't expect to spend money on. So now they have to get that back. So now they're paying for labor, plus we're paying for the R&D and the making of the machines that are going to eventually take over our jobs. And it's all nonsense. Just figure out what you need to fix the frickin' roads, to buy the kids' school books, and let me have the rest of myself. I'll take care of it. I can donate to a church. I can donate to the homeless. I can do whatever I want to do with it. Government doesn't have to do that for me. If I see somebody starving in Ethiopia, I can go over and give them some money. Government doesn't have to make that call for me.
No,
That's
you're
how
right.
I feel.
Absolutely right.
Yep.
That's a good opinion.
Yeah.
Now, if you take the road thing, here in Pennsylvania, we have one of the highest gas taxes in the country. So every time you pump gas, I don't know, it's like 30 or 40 cents per gallon extra that we're paying for a road tax.
Mm-hmm.
All that money's supposed to go to Department of Transportation, right, to fix the roads. But no, the state police somehow is skimming that money out of the road fund for who knows what.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's just like diesel fuel.
Yeah, but why is the legislature allowing them to do that?
Because everybody's making money and they're getting reelected and they're living off the frickin' taxpayer.
Yeah, but why is the state police allowed?
Not doing a job. They're sitting around talking, going to frickin' lunch, getting all these special interest groups taking them out here, taking them out there, going on vacation. That's why they're doing it.
Yeah, but why the state police should not be allowed to touch that.
I agree, but that goes. I believe that was through the governor at the time.
It was.
Right. So, and again, he's an elected official. So.
And he's gone now.
Right. So,
but
nobody's going to change
this guy Shapiro is allowing to continue.
Well, of course, they're from the birds of a feather. He was the
attorney general, right?
So why would he change it? Why would he change it?
Because he says he has integrity.
Oh yeah, right.
But that's what he says.
Right. I think he's got a screw worm.
Yeah, I'm real curious to see what's going to... This is supposed to happen by next year, this whole fly thing.
Right.
You know,
and that's the other thing. We're spending money doing this. How many millions of dollars have we done
they don't say.
To radiate and sterilize flies?
I have no idea.
And if you're going to radiate and sterilize flies, why don't you frickin' radiate and sterilize the flies and get it all over us all the time instead of dropping chemicals out of a frickin' plane?
Good point. I remember.
Don't get me started.
I just saw a meme. I saw a meme on Facebook. It had, and I remember this as a kid. It was a truck, and it said DDT on the back of the truck. It's like fogging, and there's all these kids running in with their bicycles and stuff behind this truck. It's like fogging the whole area for mosquitoes. This is back in the '60s, right? And I remember doing that. In our town, we had a Jeep, and the guy, not even a mask. I mean, he's just driving around. He's got a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and he's spraying DDT like everywhere. And we were on our bikes, like following this, and I can still remember the smell. It was disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
How more people didn't get, violently ill and die is beyond me.
Well, it took 30 years, but finally caught up to some of them.
Yeah, but I that's what this reminds me of. What you just said is
right.
like, well, dropping the stuff out of the plane.
Right,
well,
right.
Yeah.
Well, that's safe. Well, it kills the bugs.
What's that chemtrail up there?
Right.
Oh, they're just spraying for gypsy moths. Remember when they did that?
Oh, yeah.
They had those big...
the helicopters, and they had the planes, and it was almost like... looked like they were putting out a forest.
It was unbelievable. Yeah, so the Northeast here, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, I think Connecticut too, this is years ago, had a major gypsy moth infestation, and it was decimating the forests, all of the forests. They were just eating everything. And the government came in with planes, these big, like you said, for forest fires, dumping these chemicals on the forests. I wonder how many, four-eyed deer and stuff are running around.
Yeah, well, I mean, just look at the trees. They get that blight or whatever it is. How much is that from chemicals?
Who knows? I mean, around here, all the birch trees died.
Yeah.
Some kind of weird birch blight.
Yep.
Which is sad.
And I just got to finish the
bug
back
thing?
Back to the gas you were talking about with the tax. How does that work with diesel fuel?
I don't know.
Because diesel fuel always was cheaper
It's
growing
not
up,
anymore.
and now it's like way up. And the reason is because they tax it. So
Well, there's two kinds. I found out.
There's the
On-road and off-road.
and off-road. Right. The off-road is cheaper.
A lot cheaper.
So they put a dye in one of them. I believe.
So if they pull you, I think it's the one for the road has a dye in it. So if you get pulled over, they can put a dipstick in it and see if you have the right one.
But my point is, so the difference in price on those two, that's tax.
Correct.
So where's all that frickin' money going?
Not to fix the roads.
Because if you go on any highway and count how many trucks are going by in an hour, they're all burning diesel fuel.
Right.
Where's all that money going?
It's not going to fix the roads.
Where's
that's
all
for
the
sure.
gas money going?
State police in Pennsylvania.
So they really need to start figuring out what they really need to spend to make communities actually livable and start giving people back their money. All these kids with the student loans and all that stuff. You know, one side of the government's trying to buy them off with saying they're going to give them free student loans or pay off their loans. Well, it's not going to get paid off. It's going to be taxed off by everybody else.
Right.
So everybody, they're going to pay it too. So instead of doing all that hokey frickin' bullcrap, why don't they just give us our money back or let us keep our money, and then maybe the kids can actually pay off their student loans, and we can actually buy stuff that's made here that's more expensive instead of shipping everything out across the globe.
Well, you're 100% right, and I agree with you 100%. And that's something that's been bugging me since I'm a kid.
Mm-hmm. But nobody talks about it. But everybody knows. All these finance guys know about it. They're not stupid. They're making money off of it too. But it's not all. It's everybody. The big freaking government or the big freaking corporations, and they're not being taxed enough. Bull crap. It's the freaking politicians and the people in governments, from local governments to school boards, that raise the freaking school taxes to, road taxes and gas, and you're paying tax upon tax upon tax upon. You're getting taxed on your paycheck. Then you got to go to the gas station. You pay tax on that. You go to the food store. You pay tax on that. It's just nuts.
My big thing is sales tax on used items.
Yeah. They were already taxed.
How many times?
Right.
Right?
Right.
I mean, it's just that's something that just really irks me.
Mm-hmm. And who's making out? It's these frickin' people that haven't held a real job, in 50 frickin' years. They've been living off every frickin' dime that I send to the IRS every year.
You mean like Bernie Sanders?
Yep.
Guy never had a real job in his life.
Yep.
And all these other congressmen and senators.
Yep.
And we need term limits. Everybody agrees we need term limits.
But nobody does anything.
Well, we'll never do. It'll never happen because the people who have to enact that law
would be outed.
Right. They'll all lose their jobs.
Right.
So
instead of doing what's right for the country and what's right, what they say is, they're working for their people. They're not working for the people. They're working to stay elected, so they don't have to do anything really except lie to you.
Right. Trey Gowdy 2.0.
Yeah.
And I keep using him as an example only because I was a big Trey Gowdy fan when he was in the Senate. I mean, he would just go off in these hearings, right? And the mouth would be going, and he was just awesome. And then did anything happen?
Nope.
No. Nothing.
It's all a show.
Nothing.
It's like watching professional wrestling. It's all scripted.
Right.
One, for 6 months, this side wins. Then they switch over to be the bad guys. The bad guys switch over to be the good guys. And then they go another 6 months. That's all it is. It's a big frickin' show.
It's a joke is what it is.
No, it is.
It's insulting.
And the more TV time they get, everybody's sitting there, freaking change the channel. This channel's right, this channel's right. They're all doing the same thing.
Absolutely.
Right?
Every single one of them.
Yep.
Conservative, liberal, in between, they're all exactly the same.
Yep.
And it makes me
That's
nuts.
our Podpinion.
Right. And it's probably yours, too.
Yeah, right.
But I'm sick of it.
No, it is. It's enough.
Something's got to change.
And one thing that's changing is this, and people are now starting to listen to something that's not scripted by some TV anchor that they have to say or be threatened with their job.
Correct.
So things are changing that way. Now we have to get people enough, informed, and it's just you go about your life and you don't think of this stuff.
Right.
And you're so busy, you don't need another problem. You don't need something else to think about. But the problem is that they're going to bury you, or they're going to bury us all if we don't stop it. And, look at all the people against Trump. And all he's doing, in my opinion, is trying to make the country stronger and better so that it can survive on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is funding and throwing money at us. We're doing it all on our own. Like, we're funding the frickin' world. So everybody that says, the Americans, they're spoiled and they're rich and all that, well, that's the people that are getting all our frickin' money that are throwing it back in our face and saying that. And it just got to stop. And unless enough people find out about it and do something about it and vote like it matters, not just like it sounds like a good story, it's not going to change. Right now it's who tells the best bedtime story.
Right.
And
on that note, we are going to say goodnight.
All right. Yeah, we put a timer. We're going to try to keep it around an hour. So
we'll see you next time.
I went off a little bit and used up all the time.
That's right. We'll just do another episode.
I'm sure there's going to be lots to talk about next week.
Oh, absolutely. So we'll see you then.
Yep. Have a good one. Happy 4th of July.
Bye.
Bye.
Slam the follow button. This is Podpinions.